There we go. We are back. We are live. Welcome back in, everybody, and thank you for sticking with us through yet another OBS crash, which is very fun, but we got there. We got there. Welcome in. I hope you're all doing well. I hope if you've been with us this whole time, you've gotten up, you've stretched, you've had water, you've had your medication, if you need it, all those good things, so make sure you do if you haven't already. If you don't know me, hello, my name is Arthurimus. This is my channel and I'm the host for this section. The previous sections we've had hosting Papa Bear and Wreck-It Raven, who have been absolutely incredible, so please do go and say hello to them as well. I'm a full-time horror charity variety streamer. I'm chronically ill, part of the LGBTQIA+, and I also host these panels, discussions for different marginalised groups, as well as co-host the podcast. So just lots and lots and lots of things about talking to lots and lots of people, which is always a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoy it. But that's not here what we're talking about today. We are talking about BIPOC communities, that's Black, Indigenous and people of colour. And we are also attempting to raise $2,000 for the group Hate is a Virus. So before we go any further, we are going to quickly watch a video from them. So we'll be back in a moment.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Hashtag Hate is a Virus began as a movement to combat xenophobia and racism fueled by coronavirus.
The success of our movement will, 1, bring awareness to the racism and hate against our community, not just within our own circles, but beyond.
Our goal is to raise over $1 million to help all the small businesses across the country stay afloat during these very tough times.
Through collaborative effort among founders of Uprisers, Better Brave, Asian Hustle Network, and community leaders, this will be achieved through social media campaigns, donations, tea sales, and virtual events.
We want to engage with not only our Asian community, but ask that communities beyond stand in solidarity with us.
Through our campaign, Education with Informational Content and Relief Fund,
we want to equip our communities with practical ways to respond to racism and hate that they may either witness or experience themselves.
Share your stories with us by tagging Hate is a Virus.
Please change your Facebook profile to Hate is a Virus overlay.
And visit the link below to find out more about how you can join the movement and support small businesses.
Hate. Hate.
Hate.
Hate.
Hate.
Hate is a virus.
Hate is a virus.
Hate is a virus.
Hate is a virus.
A virus. The virus.
It's a virus.
Hate is a virus.
There we go. So I hope that helped sort of enlighten you a little bit about what's going on and who we're raising for today. If you do want to donate at all, you got anything to spare, it's just ! donate into the chat. That'll give you all the links, or you can just poke one of the mods until they give you the links there as well. But first we're gonna get on with introducing our lovely guests. Hello everyone, how are we doing? So
good. Doing well.
It's alright.
So,
So we're going to start off just going around sort of one by one and we'll introduce and then we'll get into some of the questions and just sort of see where it takes us. So we'll start off with Sophista. Hello.
Hey.
So
how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
So could you let us know the name that you go by, although I've probably just said it, and what your pronouns are?
I am Sophista, and my pronouns are she and her.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's who I am.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. I'm kind of a weird mix of things. In addition to being a content creator, I am. I have a podcast that's been running now for about 10 years. No, a little over 10 years. It was 10 years in January. Called Not Your Mama's Gamer.
Nice.
I am also, I always call myself an anti-academic. I'm an anti-academic by trade. I'm a games researcher. I teach game studies, game design, and I am passionate about diversity and inclusion. So me teaching diversity and inclusion in games, in a professional context, and looking at diversity and inclusion in games in my research, and then carrying that over into my content creation just kind of creates this the circle that I want to create, that I hope that like within and without can create some kind of change in and around the games industry.
Awesome. I'm just sat there like, tell me more. And I'm just like, oh no, wait, there's more questions to ask. Don't you worry. Also, I have seen there is a dog I'm very excited by this. Hold on. There's not enough
Oh,
pace.
over here?
Fairies.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't worry.
somebody else's dog. I'm like, no, I've got cats.
If
They
a
might
dog
look
turns
like
up in your
dogs, but
street,
they're
there's...
cats.
Oh, it's Aries.
Aw.
I'm just imagining a dog trotting up behind you now, just being like, oh, wait, hold on. That's not meant to be. All right, so why are you taking part in today's discussion?
Well, part of the reason that I stream is one, because I enjoy it, and I'm big into uh, kind of looking at visibility. Visibility and representation, I think, are both like extremely important. I think it's important for folks to see that not all gamers, not all streamers, not all people who play video games, because some people don't like to be called gamers, look the same. I think that taking part in these kinds of discussion also gives us a chance to kind of talk about that and talk about what that means, and talk about what it means that we place our bodies in these spaces, um, what all of that means and why we do it. So it just seemed like a great opportunity to do that. I'm also a prolific giver of charities. I do. I think that Nugget's probably talking about my Call of Duty cuss jar for charity, but I do also do a lot of charity fundraising on my stream. So yeah.
Awesome. Very, very nice. And can you tell us 3 fun facts about you?
Wow. Okay. So the first one is going to probably tell my age. But I have been well, sort of. I have been playing games for 44 years now.
Damn.
So I had to think, I'd count quick math in my head. So that's a fun fact. Second fun fact is I absolutely abhor peanut butter.
Cool.
And let's see, third thing. Oh wow, fun facts. See, that was a hard one. Fun facts. I have 2 I have, and you'll see a chair over here, that's for my cats. I have 2 cats that are completely opposite in terms of personality, so you might see them fighting on stream at any moment. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens here, which is why we have a cloth to stop them clattering. Because, yeah, that happens a lot. And where can people find you online? The podcast and your streams, if they want to come and check you out afterwards.
So there's a ton of places to find me online. So if you want to find like the blog, the podcast, and I actually run I'm the editor-in-chief for a middle state journal called NYMG, that is short for Not Your Mama's Gamer. It's just NYMG. Well, it's nymgamer.com. So all that stuff's there, and you can find my podcast like anywhere you get your usual podcasts. And I'm on Twitter, and I am on Insta, and recently on TikTok, and trying to get used to that. And of course, you're on Twitch.
Yep, perfect. And there is a comment in the chat that says she'll also leave you for dead to save herself when she's scared. That wasn't Phasmo, was it?
It was Phasmo.
I know, yeah. I was there. I actually mentioned it before the stream when I was doing the preamble, and I was like, I saw Sophista playing Phasmo recently, and I bust just a vessel just laughing so hard. Oh, it was good. It was good times. You should play more Phasmo. But thank you so much for your introduction. Let's get on to our next guest, Calamity. Hello, darling. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I love your backdrop, by the way.
Thank you. Amazon special.
It's all very themed, which I very much like. So, could you just start us off with the name you go by and your pronouns?
Sure thing. I go by Calamity. My pronouns are she, her. I don't have all the questions in front of me.
That is okay. Don't you worry, because that way I actually have something to do. Otherwise, I'll go and take a nap. It's fine. So can you? Yeah. It's about that time. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
So I am a variety streamer, content creator on Twitch, kind of starting to get into YouTube as well. That's kind of been on the back burner a little bit just because life stuff happens. I do a lot of charity on my channel, and I also am starting to bring my study of game dev into my channel. I am an early career game developer, trying to get into like narrative design and writing for games. Yeah, so that's just like a brief about what I do.
Very nice, very nice. We've got lots of devs and type peoples about today, which is awesome. So,
That's awesome. Yeah.
why are you taking part in today's discussion? Again, apart from I asked you.
Yeah, which thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, just around awesome, just incredible people, and I've just been listening in all day, and it's been great. But I really like to have the discussions, like bring awareness, anything that can highlight BIPOC voices, is important. And if I can be any part in participating in that or highlighting that or helping that, I am more than happy to be around for it. I also like talking about charities and the different just issues that are going around in the world, because while charity is great and donating is great, there's so many ways to help that aren't all monetary, because the first thing that's going to help is awareness, so that maybe one day these charities don't need to exist because people will just know how to take care of people.
Yes, exactly. Because you can never underestimate how much good your voice can do simply by being there for somebody else that doesn't have one. Being able to sort of stand up and put yourself in the space and be like, yeah, I'm going to be here and I'm going to speak up, helps when others literally cannot. So yeah, I think it's a really important point. So can you tell us a couple of fun facts about you?
Sure. One fun fact about me is I really like space stuff. I wish I was smart enough to do all the. Well, let me rephrase that because I shouldn't say things like that. I wish I was math savvy enough to be like sort of an astronomer. I took astronomy a few times and it didn't quite work out. But I do just really enjoy anything that has to do with space. I actually grew up around. It's funny, I'm wearing my NASA shirt today. I grew up around NASA, so it was always a big part of my life. So I just like space stuff. So you'll just see me surrounded in space things all the time. Another fun fact, I used to be a theater kid. I was in a lot of performances. There was one, I think there was a 3-year period where I did over like 24 shows. I did a lot of dancing in them, and mostly dancing, because unfortunately the voice that I had did not match the look of Rodgers and Hammerstein. So I didn't really get cast in those. And then another fun fact. I had another one. Other than the fact that I just have like too many hobbies. Oh, I guess like one of my facts is like I am neurodiverse. I am autistic. Just something
Cool.
about me. Just
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And if people want to come and hang out after the stream, where can they find you online?
Calamity Darling on all the things, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. I actually have an itch that I'm starting to kind of build my like small games to like kind of build up my portfolio. So I'm Calamity Darling on there. I have 2 YouTube channels because one is more for gameplay and the other is more for lifestyle stuff, which I kind of want to get into as well. So I do have some stuff up on my Calamity Darling Plays is the one with all my gameplay, and then just Calamity Darling is my lifestyle one that I'm actually starting to work on stuff here soon for. So
Nice. I think you're the only person out of all of these 3 streams that I've done who, when I've asked that question, has got the same name on every single platform.
I feel so lucky. I won't lie. Like
It's pretty
kind of amazing.
impressive.
I don't know how I
Even
did it.
mine, which I made up, is taken in some places, and I'm just like,
Oh my
okay, cool. But there we go. Thank you very much. Valkyrie! Don't look scared, it's okay. You're alright. How are you doing, my love?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
Not too bad at all. So, I mean, we've obviously just said it again, but can you just let us know what your name is and what pronouns?
Yep. I'm Valkyrie. You guys can call me any variation of that. Val, whatever's easiest. And my pronouns are she, her.
Perfect. And so, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Why is this always like the hardest question?
I know.
I am a Black and Puerto Rican variety streamer. I'm still very new to this whole thing. I say that I've been around for like maybe a year, but I still feel like a baby. But I play a ton of different games. And I really just want to hopefully just build a community and a safe space for, marginalized groups of people, um, so that, you know, they can come through and talk about the tough things, because I'm always talking about politics or human rights or whatever it may be. And knowing that, this is somewhere where you can speak about that and be heard. Because that is oftentimes the thing that we don't experience, is that we don't feel heard. So that's just, I like to talk, I guess, just not about myself.
Not a problem then, not a problem. I'm afraid I am going to have to ask you a few more questions about yourself, but I promise we can get away from those soon. So, why are you taking part in today's discussion?
Because of what I was just saying, is that, we talk about these things, and again, it doesn't feel like we're always heard. We say how we feel underrepresented, or how there needs to be more moderation on how we're treated in these spaces, whatever it may be. So I wanted to be able to take part in this, so that we would be able to get that out there and maybe get a further reach.
Perfect. And are there any fun facts about you you'd like to share? Cool. Well, go on then. What's been your favorite game to stream recently?
I play a lot of Call of Duty. I rage a lot. You can absolutely come to my stream and catch me raging. It definitely just happened last night. I love playing games with other people. I feel like it's more fun when you're playing with others. Dead by Daylight, Call of Duty, Drawful, whatever it may be. Just being able to build that connection with others. I really do enjoy doing that. But I guess I can tell another fact. I have a dog.
You do.
His name is
very
Aries.
excited.
Aries likes to talk a lot. There have been so many times on stream or when I'm in voice chat where he'll just start screaming at me for no reason. And I like comics. That's why I have comic stuff back there. I have my little Spider-Gwen plushie. So I'm a huge comic fan. I have a life-size Captain America shield, all of that. So
nice. Very, very nice. I went to a Christmas party once dressed as a femme Captain America because it was 1940s themed.
Yeah.
So
I went as one Halloween, my friend actually made a costume for me of Batgirl, but it was the Batgirl costume where she was like a baseball player. I can't remember the exact one. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's great. And one of these days, maybe I'll throw it back on for a cosplay or something. Who knows?
Sweet. I don't know if I know that one, but it sounds cool. And where can people find you online if they want to come and watch you rage at COD?
Valkyrie Vice on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything's.
Perfect.
So.
What, 2 people in one stream who got their name on every platform. It's never happened before, and now lightning has struck twice. There we go then. Well, thank you very much, Valk. And on to last but absolutely not least, Pop No Tarts. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Definitely getting tired, but that is fine. We're getting there. So, can you let us know what name you go by and what your pronouns are?
Well, some people call me Pop. Feel free to call me Siri. And yes, that is my actual nickname because neither one of my grandparents could say my name. So I've been Siri since I was born, but Pop or Siri is fine. My pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And can you tell us a little bit about you?
I've been streaming for a little over, actually no, almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in September. I didn't realize how far we were in 2021. But outside of streaming, I'm currently a doctoral candidate in musicology. I do research on anime and video game soundtracks. So I'm kind of like the outsider in my department because everyone else is like Mozart, Bach, whatever. But yeah, I'm doing research on anime and video game soundtracks. I teach piano and do other music lessons as well. But Pretty much it.
That's pretty awesome, actually. Oh, no, that just sounds way cooler. Like, respect to some of the oldest pieces of music, that we have written down at least for doing what they did, but we can definitely make some funkier shit now, so.
Yeah.
So, why are you taking part in today's discussion?
Well, to echo on Valk's point is to make our voices heard. Um, I'm actually one of the first Black grad students in my department. It's actually actually no, the second oldest musicology program in the world. And oftentimes they'll try to have these conversations, but I get talked over. And I love being in spaces where I can feel like I'm a part of the conversation versus being spoken over or giving an idea and then like 10 months later they come up with the same thing. And it's like, I told you that like 10 months ago. And now here we are, but just a place where I'm not talked over.
Well, I will do my best. I can't promise lag won't help with that, but it won't ever be intentional, I can promise you that. Can you let us know a few fun facts about you?
Yeah, I am the founder of Brown Girls Love Yakuza. It's our own little fun women, well, basically non-men of color online community for women that love the Yakuza series or any other Sega titles. I've been playing the piano for, wait, how long? 22 years? It'll be 23 when my birthday passes. I started taking lessons when I was 4. Another fun fact. Oh, I'm currently trying to beat 100 different games this year on my Twitch channel, and I'm currently at 22 out of 100.
Damn, very nice. What sort of length games are you looking at? Or is it just all sorts?
All different types. I actually beat a 40-hour game in 3 streams not too long ago.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What was that? Which one was that?
Judgment.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's impressive. Well done.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. And where can people find you online if they want to just witness this mammoth undertaking?
It's Pop No Tarts on all platforms. Twitch,
3!
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
3 people in one stream, all in the same place. I'm impressed. I'm actually very impressed now. And slightly sad, but that's fine. So, if everyone's feeling all right, we'll get into some of the questions we've got, which I gathered from all different places, including from sort of questions that we've seen, questions that were submitted by other people who've been on the panels, and sort of all over the internet, really. But if we are good to go, then I guess we'll just start with the first one that we've got listed, which is, what does a good ally look like to you? And what are some of the common mistakes that you'll see when somebody is supporting a BIPOC person or people? And intersectionality I will add on to the end of that as well. And then whoever wants to start, just feel free to speak up and go from there.
Go ahead, I see you grabbing it.
I knew it'd happen.
Okay, so I'll start because I have a joke, not joke. And that joke is I don't need allies, I need accomplices and alibis. So and probably bail money, but that's a whole nother story. But the thing is that I think that the term ally has become too sanitized. Right. And people think that they can be an ally simply by, and everything, social media reach has its place, but people think that, by retweeting something that makes them an ally. And I think that ally needs to be kind of, more of an accomplice, right? Someone who is willing to work with you side by side, someone who is willing to put themselves kind of in the space in the same way that you are. So there's someone who can put themselves, if necessary, between you or BIPOC folks or any marginalized folks and the onslaught if the need arises.
Yep, I think that's a very, very fair point. It can't just be performative allyship. It needs to be active. Which, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Do you know of any sort of common mistakes or things that you've noticed that people try and do to support BIPOC folk, or?
I think one of the things that kind of jumps out at me when you say that is when allies, rather than making space for the people that they consider themselves allies for, speak over, right? The people that they consider themselves to be allies for. So rather than giving space for a person to have voice, they unintentionally, I will say, usually try to become the voice for those people. And that's not the position of an ally.
And you'll also see them trying to tone police as well if they get checked. You know, as much as it said, sometimes it's necessary for you to stay in your lane. And when they're checked on that, then they want to say, "This is not how you should be treating your allies. I'm supporting you. Like you think you're doing me a favor rather than doing what you should be doing." Since we are human beings and we deserve the same rights as everybody else, you shouldn't be doing this for clout or because you think that it's going to get your name out there or whatever. Like, you should be doing this because it's something that you believe is something that should be done, rather than getting your feelings hurt if somebody's like, "Hey, we don't need you speaking over us." We like amplify our voices. Don't speak over us.
Bro, perfect. I definitely agree with you. Obviously, I can only speak from other marginalizations, like disability and stuff like that, but I definitely agree with what you're saying. Calamity or Pop, do either of you have anything you want to add?
Go ahead, Pop.
Oh, just this question makes me think back to last summer where I have two friends, they're a married couple on Twitch. And as soon as everything happened, like they started doing charity streams, started getting into charity streams for anti-racist organizations, so donating to different jail bonds and all different kind of things. And someone in their stream was just like, it's funny how you're doing this now all of a sudden, but it's for clout, and kind of trying to like check them or play a devil's advocate. And they said, I'm not doing it now all of a sudden just because, for clout or anything. They said, I'm doing it because these events, people that I care about, these events affect people that you may care about. And he'd even mentioned, because at the time I wasn't using a cam on streams, they mentioned they were just like, you claim Pablo Tarts as one of your favorite people to watch, but did you know she's also Black? She's adamant about it. You may have not known, but this affects her too. And if we're going to have friends of color, like we have to support them in any way that they can. They never spoke over me. There's also the question of educating on issues, and his wife had said, I would never ask you to educate me on anything because that's not your job. I would pay you if I ever asked, but I feel like I can Google most of the things. But she had even made like a protest protocol safety guide for people protesting during the pandemic. And she said, I don't want to bother you with this. I was like, yeah, I'm like, I don't mind helping. Like you don't have to feel too out of the way, but it was amazing how she came up with different protocols for keeping yourself safe, not only from police brutality in the middle of a protest, but making sure, your hands are sanitized, mask on, just things to keep yourself safe from COVID as well. Um, one mistake that I've seen outside of how they act when they get checked, it's how they act against the people that may not actively say that they try to check other allies and have this moral high ground uh, against people that actually are allies. And they always do it to the ones that don't actively say that they're allies. They more so do what they're supposed to do because we're all humans and they do what we should be doing to each other if this world were to be a better place. I don't know. It's like they have some sort of feeling of inferiority and try to feel superior to those by always saying like what they've done to other people. And it's always to allies that don't speak much on social media. They rather go out and do something versus making a tweet about it, which that's completely fine.
Right.
But that's one thing I've noticed is the whole competitive, if that's even the right word, but the competitive nature of saying I'm a better ally than you because X, Y, and Z. Or I've seen it before and I couldn't even believe it myself. But
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, Calamity. That was me just going.
No, like that's basically what I was doing too. Just like to echo that, because that was going to be my big point, is that I feel like in a lot of these cases, you know, it is good that the passion is there and that the desire to help is there, and that's wonderful, but you kind of have to check yourself and make sure you're not talking over the people whose voices truly need to be heard. And unfortunately, one of the big ways that happens is allies constantly like trying to check each other and having all these opinions on all these things to the point where the people they're talking about are just sitting there like, okay, sure, keep talking about us. We're just gonna sit here and I guess watch you talk about our situation right in front of us, you know, instead of, you know, saying, hey, you know, maybe watch this person who is constantly advocating, you know, a person of color who is constantly advocating, who is constantly, you know, speaking on these things. And then another point that I was going to kind of echo was the education, because random content creators on the internet are not here to teach you about racism, about intersectionality, about all that stuff. Like we're like, sure, we talk about it because it affects us and it's our lives. We're going to bring up the issues as they occur. We're going to talk about these things. However, it is not our job to educate you on something that you could A, look on Google for, B, we've talked about it. There's many conversations out there. And I think like it's different if it's like kind of like Pop said, like a friend said, hey, can you give me some advice? That's different than going into a random content creator stream or just some random person of color, a BIPOC person on the internet, and saying, oh, like, can you explain like racism to me right now? Can you explain what's happening? I'm like, it's kind of just all over the news, but you know, like not unless you're gonna pay.
I mean,
here's my Cash App.
You know?
Yes,
I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
Right. And going along with that, one of our friends, Infamous X1X, just on Instagram the other day was talking about trauma dumping, if I'm not mistaken. And talking about racism, talking about police brutality and whatnot, experiencing it is traumatic. And so, like, you know, it kind of goes along with that, where it's like, we may speak about it. Like I said, I'm one of the type of people that will speak about on stream, but it's not like you just come in and just, here's all of this for you, because it's not fair to us to do that, or even just expecting us to just talk about it whenever. So just going along with that, just it's a respect thing. Just respecting us as individual human beings as well, rather than content creators who, yes, we may speak on this, but it's you should not expect us to always be willing to educate or be willing to take on whatever it is you want to throw at us. In a way, I hope that connected.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like saying it, I'm like,
makes sense to me. It makes sense. Like you're not a live news anchor, so how can you be expected to respond and to assess a situation that you haven't even seen or read about yourself just because somebody's gonna said, hey, what about X in a stream? Like, it's like, I'm playing Pokemon, stop. Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know, but I do appreciate that point of view. I would also just say for anyone in the chat, if anything we talk about is triggering or anything we mention is worrying, you can type in ! I need help, and that will take you to a location agnostic website that will give you self-help and mental health like emergency services for around the world. So if you do need any help, you can just grab it in the chat nice and easily, or the mods can direct you to it. Just a little quick aside there just in case. But has anyone else got anything else they want to add on this particular point, or in terms of what a good ally might look like if we know what shit we don't want to see? What would you like to see, maybe? Or more of, I
Don't
guess.
excuse your friends and family. Like,
Yeah.
Call them out.
Call them out. And you don't have to record you calling them out. And you honestly don't even have to tell people that you're doing it. It is something that should just be intrinsically done. So yeah. 100%
It's funny that you
calamity.
say that because I think this was a while back on Twitter. Someone was just like, yeah, their family member had said something, and most of the comments was just like, and you didn't say anything to them. You just let them. They just came on Twitter, just like, oh my god, my family said racist, and it was just like, but you didn't.
Hey.
You didn't say anything.
Yeah. So
be accountable without needing to be recorded or getting clout for it. Like, be a good person because you actually want to be a good person.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Also, like I said before, just amplifying our voices, trying to have your voice being the one that's being heard. Just making sure you're uplifting the people that are marginalized rather than trying to speak for us or over us. And I know that's hard. It's even hard to describe how exactly to do that. But sharing our content, sharing us, I guess that's definitely one of those hard ones, but it's just like you have to recognize when you're speaking over someone or doing the most rather than doing what's necessary.
And I want to throw something in. It was something that Valk said earlier, in terms of like folks not liking to be checked when they need to be checked. I think it's also that realization, and I hate to see allies use this word, but that's just my preference. Is when folks start talking about they woke. One, I have a whole thing that I'm not even gonna go into about what woke means and who's woke and who's not, but understanding that if you're going to use that as a term, that woke is a verb and not an adjective, right? It is a constant process. You can't just wake up one day and be like, I'm woke. All right, I'm done. I have nothing left to learn. So understand that it is a constant process of education, right? In a number of different ways that you don't like hit this status and be like, I'm done. That there's much to learn, and if a BIPOC person is telling you that what you've said or done is racist, it's not your place to argue that, right? Because you don't get to define what racist is. The people affected by it do.
And going along with that as well, it's like you're saying, it is a verb. So it is something that you're going to need to consistently do, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to not be Black in the next week or in the next year, in the next 10 years. So it's consistent action that you have to take on, because we're still going to be around. I mean, hopefully these issues will be resolved, but until then, the action still has to be taken.
Not when it's just in the news. Preferably.
Yeah, not just sort of cottoning onto trauma, not just like working with people's trauma because it means that it's the thing to be done at the time. Like Pop was saying
last summer.
Like Pop was saying about their friend who, you know, shows up when is needed, but is still supportive the rest of the time.
Right.
Like,
and that was something that a lot of us experience. Like, luckily there are people that are still being activists and whatnot and being allies, but last summer we experienced that a lot, where a bunch of companies were like, we got to stop this, and we're in 2021 and it's like, well, same stuff you said you got to stop is still going on. Still going on within your thing. So was that just for last summer? Like, is it over now because you're tired of it? Or
yeah, I understand. Has anyone else got anything they want to say on this, or do we want to move on to the next question, or any other points? Alrighty, looks like we're good.
Yeah.
But feel like, I mean, if so, these questions are all just sort of launch pads. So if another question that we answer, you're like, oh, actually, I remember that, just feel free to come out with it. It's just a big discussion. I don't know what I'm trying to do with my hands. It's a sphere, I think, is what I'm going for. Close, yeah, close enough. Just humor me, it's fine.
This helps my thoughts come in a little easier.
Yeah,
like pulling them out.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I just talk. I've got a very ADHD brain. It's like, if I'm not like just sort of making it real, it ain't gonna come out my mouth. So, so, second question is, when it comes to content creation, is there anything that you'd like to see changed or implemented for BIPOC communities or marginalized communities? So I said better rule enforcement or identity tags, which we actually just heard about yesterday. So I guess, what are your thoughts on those as well?
I actually kind of spoke about this on stream yesterday, because that's when I found out about it, was when I was streaming, and I was like, wow, this is perfect time for me to talk about this. But I think it's great that they're doing this, because identity matters. And finding people that represent you matters. Like, before I got into, like, not even streaming myself, but getting on Twitch and watching streamers and everything, it was so whitewashed. And it was hard for me to really feel like connected with others. And so, thank goodness for communities like Brown Girl Gamer Code and Black Girl Gamers and things like this that have really helped with expanding this. But it's going to be even better now that we do have these identity tags. I mean, which peer-to-peer was doing.
Yeah.
And so it's great that it's going to be on Twitch now, but it also comes with a certain level of fear, because we didn't even have that, and already had, like, before, racist people coming into my stream. And like I said, I'm a baby. Like, I am very new to this. So, like, I didn't even have a tag like that for people to find me, but they would still come into my stream and find me. So I'm hoping that with this, the moderation is just bumped up. Like, something is actually, like, people are held accountable for the things that they're doing, hate rating or whatever else it may be, or just, I'm hoping that there'll be a higher level of accountability.
Yeah, no, sorry. Because I'm in the UK, there's always like a good 2 seconds before I'm like, is anyone speaking? No? Okay, cool. So then just giving space just in case, because of blooming lag. But no, I definitely agree with that, because it's brilliant, but at the same time I am just like, I'm hoping people are ready for it if they're wanting to use it, and know what they're doing with it, and that they are prepared, with mods, and making sure that they're going to stay safe as well, because it'll be brilliant for finding each other. I just don't want anyone to get, turned off or afraid, as you say, because it could cause an onslaught. But I guess time will tell, and we'll have to see whether Twitch is going to be better with taking action against reported accounts and things like that. So, who else wants to speak up on it?
I guess just like echoing basically on everything Valk said, that's kind of, it unfortunately has to come with this thought of, okay, this is great. What's the backlash going to be? Which is an unfortunate thing to have to think about. And to some extent, yes, we are going to have these protections. We already have these protections in place for ourselves. You know, there's certain things that I think like a white content creator might not have to think about putting in their like banned list that, you know, I had to first starting out just to, you know, keep myself safe, but people like to get creative. So I think that holding the accounts and the people accountable who do kind of like try to come in and hate rate or whatever, finding better ways to, I guess, just hold people accountable, because people are like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna say this and then my account's gonna get blocked and I'll just make another one. I think I really hope that they're putting things in place to also, you know, I hope that this doesn't happen and they're like, well, I told you so. This is why we didn't want to do this. That's kind of like my biggest fear with everything, is that we do get the backlash, which is inevitable, but instead of doing something about the backlash itself, they're like, oh, well, this is why we didn't want to do it in the first place. I just really hope that they help us. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know a better way to say it. Like, I just hope that they help.
They don't say I told you so and then just go, yeah, deal with it. Like,
or just like maybe roll back on it, which would be.
No, don't take it away again, because some others are messing up the sandbox. It's just. So, Sophista, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. I had something I wanted to add, but you just said something I want to respond to first, right? Is that notion of the "I told you so"s. Okay, so I'm a little older than y'all, and so I am a little more pessimistic sometimes. But I just always have this feeling that it is going to be, because especially when we're talking like about the trans tag, right? And their reasons, Twitch's reasons for not adding the trans tag before, it's like, oh, we just want to make sure trans people are safe, so we're not going to add this tag, so it doesn't make it easy for us to for people to find you and harass you. And I'm like, well, or maybe you just make your platform safer for everyone and then you don't have to worry about that. But I always have this, like, when I was like, this is great, and I was like, but is this their way of just saying, so when everybody starts getting kind of bombarded with hate raids and hate speech and all these other things, they're like, well, now we have to take this back because I told you so, right? I don't want to be the pessimist, right? And I'm hoping that is not the case. But I feel like I've seen it all too many times. So I don't know. I want it to be good. And the other thing that I wanted to mention in terms of like what else, right? It's like we've got these tags. What did they add? Like 350 plus tags is what they said, right? So they added all these tags, these identity tags. I think is great because that tells us that the sheer number tells us that we can find folks that fit very kind of specific identity markers for ourselves. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily aid in discoverability. One of the things that I had to do this week on Twitter is I went to Twitter because I watch a lot of MMO streamers because I play a lot of Final Fantasy 14. I stream Final Fantasy 14. I've been streaming a lot this month for St. Jude, of Final Fantasy 14 in particular. But so I was like, I went to Twitter and I'm like, I was like, I can find a lot of white passing Final Fantasy or MMO streamers. That's great. I'm looking for BIPOC streamers because those are the folks I can't find. So they really need to do something to work on. They really need to do something to work on discoverability because there is no way in heck that I watch as much like Final Fantasy 14 content as I do on Twitch, and my recommended streamer list for folks playing Final Fantasy 14 are all white passing folks. Right? So there's something that they've got to be able to do. Maybe this new the new taxonomy that they're using in terms of being able to label yourself as Black or as Indigenous or whatever will help them in terms of discoverability. If it doesn't, then that just reinforces what I think I already know. Right? So it's got to be more than just the tags, because just the tags are a band-aid. to a much bigger problem, right? You can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, as they say. So yeah.
Yeah, just to, oh, sorry.
No, again, it's me just sort of mumbling along for a second. It's all good.
Just to echo on that though, like I actually, so I've been getting involved in Final Fantasy 14 a lot, and I came across somebody who wasn't like connected to like brown girl gamer code and like black girl gamers, which is how I tend to find a lot of black creators. But I actually like came across somebody the other day who was like a Final Fantasy streamer who was black and like not like, oh sorry, I'm shaking my camera, like white passing or anything. Like it hit me that it was shocking. It was like, this shouldn't be so shocking, because I was like, there is a black woman playing Final Fantasy 14, and it's like, it's not somebody that I know through somebody. It's just like I just happened to see them on, and I don't think it was like the front page. I think I was like kind of looking through it a little bit, but to echo off of that, I forgot. Hold on, I forgot where I was going with that. Hold on. I hope that these tags help with that, and I hope that it doesn't, I guess I'm just like kind of repeating, like I just hope that they don't think like, okay, like we've given you your tags, leave us alone now, we've fixed everything. Like this is one step. This is one of just many steps that needs to be made to truly make Twitch a platform that is safe and just good for everyone.
Yep. Pop, did you have anything you wanted to add as well?
I'm thinking more so on the industry side of things and what they do for BIPOC communities. Astro Gaming has probably been the most consistent I've seen this year. So far, like Black History Month, they highlighted Black content creators, both the ones that are on their team and ones that their team selected. This month, they're highlighting API content creators. Like my guess is that they're going to do something for Pride. They're going to do something for Hispanic Heritage Month. They're going to be they're just constant. They've constantly been sticking by their word, and I wish other companies would start doing the same. But what they did, because I was one of the people picked during Black History Month, and that's what kind of like brought my radar over to them. I'm just like, oh, they've been pretty consistent. I'm gonna keep following the page and see what happens, and they haven't missed. The head of Astro Gaming just hasn't missed, and it's kind of like I'm using them as a standard for other companies when they come, if they decide to come to me and ask me to do something, and I can say, well, this company did this when they asked me to do this. Why can't you do the same? Why should I be treated less than because I don't look like the people that usually appear on your page? Why can't you treat my content the same as somebody else that might be doing something similar, but the difference is I'm Black and they're white?
Sorry.
I liked it. I liked it.
Know what that was. There was an anchor jellyfish, and it just, anyway. There was a recent issue with a makeup company that whole thing just reminded me of. And one of the things that was said is that for some reason, having BIPOC creators content highlighted was a risk. Why?
when they were ratioed by a BIPOC creator.
And not just that, the amount of people that had responded to them. Yep, go ahead, sorry.
No, like it's speaking through clenched teeth. It's just like there's so much anger there. Then you're told, of course, you're not allowed to be angry. Like you're just a mad Black woman. Anyway, but it sucks because you see it, even if it's not verbally stated like it was in that situation. where somebody said, oh, like that's a big risk for them to highlight a lot of like BIPOC creators. I'm like, why are you afraid of like backlash? You like what are you so afraid of? What is the risk? And then they can't seem to answer that question. But even when it's not clearly stated like that, it's insinuated. It's like they're taking a chance. It's like we're creators just like everybody else. Why does the color of my skin mean that? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I just got like more, I got emotional and now I can't words.
No, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating because why is it that, I mean, you're claiming that because of who I am or the color of my skin, literally something I can't change, that it's a risk for your company to include me within that. It is frustrating. And then it's like, well, and then it comes into the aspect of with this particular company, they have really affordable, their makeup is affordable. Their makeup is good. And now it's just like we've kind of been, it feels like we've been alienated from them because you're literally telling us like, we don't want you representing us. It's like, why should I be buying your products then? But then it's also like, well, also I am broke. So it's really frustrating that that's how they handle this whole thing, and that other major people are trying to work with them as well, despite all of this backlash, and despite claiming to care about us, and then you're turning around and working with this particular company that straight up was like, nah.
It's one of those, tell us you don't have a diversity and inclusion specialist without telling us you don't have a diversity and inclusion specialist, right? Because I mean, at the same time, is there is a definite intersectional aspect of this, because we're not just talking about their relationships with BIPOC folks, but we're also talking about kind of the nuances of racism and the traces of racism that exist within these cultures that they don't have an understanding of, and that's also clear, right? So especially when we start getting into issues of, so they're like, okay, so we got these Black people that we're working with, but no offense to our fair skinned sisters out there, right? But then at the same time, we're not getting into issues of colorism, right? We're not getting into issues of gender presentation. We're not getting into all these other kinds of issues, right? Kind of very specifically that also need to be addressed, right? When, for example, I don't wear makeup, but if you're selling makeup and you're only using fair-skinned folks of color, that's a problem. If you're selling makeup and you're only using folks under the age of 30, that's a problem, right? If you are only using folks who are cisgendered, also a problem, right? So there are all these kinds of things that also that companies need to be paying attention to, because I know I sure as heck am paying attention to when it comes to these kinds of things, right? Like I said, I don't wear makeup, but when my daughter's ready, I'm gonna look at those kinds of things for her as well. But she's my child, like turned up to like 397, so she's gonna be looking at that for herself and be like, no. So anybody who like comes to my stream and has heard, I stream with my daughter on Saturday. If you've heard her, so yeah, there's all kinds of things that we definitely need to be paying attention to and holding people accountable for.
Going right back to that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Always goes right back to that, because, and talking about that, just thinking about how many white content creators have gone out and said like super ignorant and super racist things, and they're still sponsored by like 1,000,001 people.
Yeah.
Like, but then you don't want, yeah, but then you don't want to turn around and sponsor more Black content creators, because why? You think we're a risk? You don't think that was? You don't think what was said was by that white content creator that you, okay, sure. because I'm black, because literally that's your only excuse that may be a risk. Okay.
Not to mention some of those white content creators tend to steal things that came out of Black Twitter and Black pop culture.
Yep.
To
Or
begin with.
appropriate other cultures in general.
Like the one thing I hate to see the most, and people have been in my stream know that I use AAV a lot. Like there 1 second I can say the most proper sentence, and then as soon as something wild happens in the game, all that just goes out the window. But
we have to become experts at code switching, and
yeah,
as Black people, we have to become experts at accommodating for others and making others feel comfortable.
And eventually I was just like, you know what, I'm not code switching anymore. And then this semester I'll be working from home. I don't have to like speak with students, just my advisor. And like most of my dissertation committee they're all faculty of color. So I don't have to worry about code switching as often. I just have to say what I have to say to them in an email, and then like I can just be me on stream. And eventually I'm just like, you know, if people can't understand me based on how I talk and how I'm comfortable talking, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a them problem. Because at the end of the day, they don't know me. They don't really know me. And if how I talk affects how you get to know me, that's a you problem, and you should work on that. You should get some help. You should seek some sort of help and get you some good friends in the long run. But that's something I had to come to terms with, because I'm not gonna code switch for companies either. Like, listen, if these white content creators can get popular off of what we do on a regular basis, I better be able to do the same thing. I'm sorry. Not sorry, but
yeah, don't be sorry.
I should be able to do the same. Yeah, no, I can't. I can't, because it's being on this. I'm on TikTok, but I don't post there as often because for some reason on the For You page, the first thing I always see is one of the white content creators using AAVE, and I'm like, no, why are you showing me this? And I think I uninstalled the app for like a week. I'm like, I'm tired of seeing this stuff. Because like they have like thousands and thousands of followers. I'm just like, I say this stuff on a regular basis.
And then we get told that we don't sound right.
Which is funny because there's an actual grammar structure to it. They don't. Yep. I'm sorry. If I hear someone say finagona, I'm blocking you. If I see you type it, if I see you say it, if I hear it in a stream, I'm blocking you, because that's just not how it goes together. It makes me so upset when I hear it said wrong. And then they try to tone police saying, well, it's a language, why can't we speak it? Not realizing that it came out of how we communicated with each other during Jim Crow, during segregation, and even during slavery. Like they don't realize the history behind it. Like there are some things that are just for us that needs to be kept with us, because that's how we connect with each other. And if we can't connect with each other, that kind of breaks that unity, and then it's a hot mess. Sorry, but it's just what I think about when I think about brands and like how people are expected to act a certain way. I'm like, no, I'm at the end of the day, how I talk doesn't affect my intelligence at all.
Nope.
I got a third diploma coming on the way to clearly prove that I don't lack the intelligence that people may think I lack because of how I speak sometimes.
So yeah, I hope people don't mind me jumping in here. So I don't want to speak over anybody, but just from my perspective, I just want to go back to the elf thing for a minute, because I spoke.
We didn't even say the name, and everybody knew what it was.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'll call them out. I'll use Wreck-It Raven's line. Don't at me. I'm calling them out. Thank you, Raven, for that one. I actually love it. It's amazing. But we were talking about that in the chat during the last section, and So I've been a professional community manager in the games industry for, well, I haven't been for last year, I've been a full-time streamer, but before that for 4 years. And so I was the person that did that kind of communications, and I was the person that wrote this kind of thing and dealt with fallout if anything happened. And one, apart from being like flabbergasted when I first saw that tweet, like saying, we want faces, we want people, and I was like, awesome, I'm shit at it, but I'll retweet it, some of my friends are amazing. And then seeing some of the people that responded, and like, again, the ratio that happened, and loads of people, including, as Sophista was saying, people that aren't cisgendered women, and, you know, people that aren't white, and people that aren't necessarily classically beautiful, whatever that means, you know, the kind of faces that they all picked, very similar. They were given an opportunity on a golden platter that I'd have beaten a few people for. Like, instead of having to go and do the work themselves, they were just given it, and I don't know why they didn't take it. And if it's because they say it's a risk, then you know that whoever's running that company is inherently racist. If they decide that black people are a risk, that says more about the people who told them to put out those posts than it necessarily does the person posting it. And they've still not said a single word. They had another stream yesterday where they actually blocked people asking them for accountability. They have just been going on with their Twitch activation. They haven't moderated their chats, even though, as far as I understand, Twitch offered to help. So they didn't do that. They didn't take the help. And they didn't immediately spin on their heel and go, oh, we fucked up. Here's some incredible black talent that we reached out to, asked, you know, forgiveness for this shittiness, and asked for help. They could have still done it. They could have turned it around and go, we really fucked up. But when you fuck up and then continue to stick to your fuck up, then there's no helping you. Like, I always say, and again, I can only speak for issues that I have personally been a part of, but say disability and things like that. If somebody says something to me that I'm like, oh, hold on, that's a bit shitty of you, and they apologise and try and do better, I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to hate you. Like, you did something wrong. You took an opportunity and you learned from it. I'm really thankful for that. Thank you for listening to me and giving me space. But if you're going to do what they did and double down and then host another Twitch stream and not address the criticism at all, the very rightful criticism from people that really were legitimately snubbed, I don't get it. I don't get it. They're in such a privileged position. And like Valk was saying, their makeup is affordable. It's decent from everything I've seen. And all they have done is just slap the faces of people that would have been more than happy to come and help them. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I'm basically just ranting, but after everything you were saying, I'm like, I don't get it, but I know what that comment, it's a risk, means from the industry perspective, and it makes my blood boil. In a different industry, I was told it was a risk to do a post about women in the particular industry because we didn't have enough women in the company. I'm like, well, maybe if we put out a post, more would apply because there's actually some here. And I think it's the same. If Elf are going to do this post and not have a single, black woman on there, why are more black women going to want to buy their product? It's obviously not exactly the same, but I'm just looking at it like,
being underrepresented is one thing, but then when it seems like it's purposefully being done,
yes,
it just makes it all that much worse.
It becomes hateful because it's an active choice then. It's not even ignorance. And I will shut up now. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Ouch.
I wish some companies would look at what happened. There was this restaurant in Baltimore, Maryland, and I don't recall exactly what happened, but there was some racist tension between like the manager and the workers. So community came together. They stopped eating there. That restaurant is no longer in business. And I don't think people realize, and by people, I'm saying these companies, I don't think they realize that it's a bigger risk to deny those that are underrepresented than those that are represented. Especially when it comes to BIPOC people.
Yeah.
I think they hope people have short memories. I think that's exactly, and a lot of times folks do, right? Look, it might be my pettiness, but I have a long memory for stuff. Like stuff will happen. Exactly. Vote with your money. Stuff will happen. Like people will show their true colors, And like 2 years down the road, somebody be like, well, I was like, I don't give them my money. Mola's like, I never forget. And I think that we as a community need to be good at reminding each other too, right? It's like, well, we need to remember what happened when this first came, because if our memories are too short, then yeah, when we're looking for affordable makeup, right, that looks good, and we're like, hey, well, what about this? And everybody's like, okay, so yeah, let's all jump on this bandwagon and let's buy this makeup. Yeah, we've got to do a better job of remembering. We got to do a better job of remembering that unless people are made to be, or just voluntarily are accountable for their original I don't want to say mistakes, because I don't think it's a mistake. I I think that we need to remember, and we do need to, as Icy said, vote with our money. Yeah.
Because that's all it's about, really. It's they took a risk and decided it wasn't worth certain people's money to actually cater. That being a word I put a bit of spin on, because it's not catering, it's just decent fucking decency. But you know, it should be. At least that's just where I'm at with that. It should be. On a slightly lighter note, just for 1 second, and we can get back into it absolutely in a moment, I just want to say that we are now up to $1,800 raised, and it's because of all the wonderful things that you've all been talking about and everything you've been sharing, so thank you all for that so much. So that's only $200 left till we hit the goal, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes, thank you. Are we all feeling okay? Yep. Don't really need like a drink break or anything, or just grab a glass of water or a stretch. Just want to make sure.
Sorry if I wasn't supposed to be doing that the whole time, because I definitely have been.
That's no, you're not meant to
roll
not
over and
no,
grab my
no
energy drink out of my
drinking.
little mini fridge.
Just
Let it just get comfortable.
just shaking up.
Thanks for sitting here.
No, it's not a problem at all. It's not a problem at all. I just wanted to make sure, because again, as I've said in previous sort of parts of this stream, like, your time is a gift, and the fact that you've given it here and you can't get it back, I am incredibly thankful for, and I hope this platform's working for you and that you're happy to be here. And if it's not, I will take any feedback to improve it. But you coming and sharing and giving us education, when again you're not being paid for it, it's not your job to do so, it is a gift, and so I'm very thankful, and I just want to make that very clear, because I know everyone in the chat echoes that as well, or at least everyone I've seen, they've all been very, very polite, which is nice. But right, so the next question is, have you come across any particular microaggressions in your daily life? And I guess not truth, that's not the right word, but what do you think is behind them, / are people actually even aware they're doing them? Because I'm guessing some could be insidious and just accepted, as it were, and it's obviously not right.
Lamini, you want to go?
Like, where do I start? Like, do you want a story? Do you want to, like, there's so many, I'm sure all of us have
A whole timeline.
a whole timeline. Like, where do you want to start? I know, even before we got into the whole conversation, I mentioned being in theater and being made a dancer, because my voice tends to be a little more, I have a higher, more operatic voice, to use like very, just, I guess, I don't know, non-musical terms. And a lot of the theater, I grew up in the South, so a lot of the theater that was done was a lot of older shows in Rodgers and Hammerstein, which I loved. I grew up on like The Sound of Music. My Nana actually hid the VHS because she was sick of watching it. So, when I started hearing about theater and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, I love that stuff. And then it was like, oh, but you're not gonna be like Maria ever. That is sort of, I think, where it started. My involvement in like music and the performing arts, I think, is where it definitely started for me, is seeing those. And I don't think it was intentional, but even if it happened to be brought up, which I won't lie, I this is not something I usually brought up because I just wanted to participate, I just want to be involved. So I was like, sure, I'll be a dancer again. Which was fine, and I love dance, but I think even if people were called out or if it came to the attention of people, it was sort of like, well, haha, it's just not how we do things. You just kind of have to deal with it, instead of saying, huh, that's not right, is it? We should do something about it. It was just kind of more like, haha, yeah, you could never be Maria. Like, that would be like, can you imagine? And then they'd say something like, oh, like, and they'd use AVE when talking about like Maria's line. And it's okay because they haven't been checked. You know, nobody's checking them, nobody's saying why that's bad. So, and it's just how things are. And that's kind of my perspective growing up in a more southern area of the United States. It's just like, well, that's how things are, and you just have to deal with it. So that microaggression, unfortunately, until very recently, is caused me to kind of have that mentality. I won't lie. That was kind of like, well, that's how things are. I just have to suffer, which is unfortunate.
I hate that line. That's just how things are done. It's like, why? Does that mean they should still be done that way? Just because they have been, does it mean they should still be? Like, if there's no good reason that you can actually say out loud, then it's probably the worst of what's going on.
Probably racism.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's musical theater is definitely rooted in racism. I won't get into that because outside of anime and video game music, like in general, I do research on Black music and Black music history. So like I Calamity knows, like during Black History Month, I did a whole thread like every week on Black music history, and I think for June, because June is also Black Music Appreciation Month, I might do something similar, but microaggressions are kind of 50-50. Sometimes it's not on purpose, and other times they know that they're doing it. And one thing I've learned is when they know that they're doing it, it's because they didn't do it the explicit way. They're not as racist as the openly racist people. I don't want to share a story because I don't want to trigger anybody, but when I did report this individual who happened to be on faculty, it was kind of passed off as, well, they've done X, Y, and Z. You know, you can't just say that about this person. And that was the day when I was just like, you know what? Y'all claim y'all want to fix this department and better, but if you keep doing this, you're gonna keep having Black students drop out. 2 have left already. I'm one of the last 2, maybe 3. I don't know if the third one's coming back. They said that they were, but I don't know. It's kind of up in the air because of what they experienced. But it's like, y'all realize people keep leaving because you say you're gonna fix something and then you don't fix it. And then once that gets fixed, something else happens, and it turns into you're it's not that bad, or they're not that bad. You know, you just dust it off, and and like Safisa, I'm also an anti-academic, and it's not even because of like the racism in my field or the bigotry in my field. It's mainly because what I do research on, it shouldn't be locked to just them. While some of them might play video games and watch anime, that's cool, but I'm not writing it for them. When I pick this topic for myself, I actually get more joy telling my friends about what I do, and they're being like, "Oh, that's so cool, that's so dope." Or my best friend calls me her anime connoisseur because she knows whatever I recommend is going to have a really good soundtrack. She's just like, whatever I recommend, it has an amazing soundtrack. But it's the thing with microaggressions. It's sometimes, and you can address it then and there, and when they don't mean it, they genuinely do apologize and realize they made a mistake. If you call it out, their reaction will tell you if it's intentional or not intentional. And it always works. When you call someone out on their BS, it'll always show their true colors. It never fails. Um,
It's interesting because I think that anybody who kind of lives and works um, in an area, in a field, where they always fall back on that. Well, that's just the way it is, right? Whether it's musical theater, whether it's academia, um, whether it's like STEM fields, right? Where BIPOC folks are hugely underrepresented. We find that like all the time. That's just the way it is. And for me, it's the gaslighting for me, right? It's like when so you know what I mean. Everybody went, yep. It's the gaslighting for me. It's because I um am very vocal. Let's put it that way. And I don't mind calling folks out on their BS. Right. And it's that moment, that moment when that switch flips, right? And they're like, oh, that's not what I meant. You misunderstood. That's not what I said. It's like, no, that's exactly what you said. Let me break it down to you in 47 different ways. So everybody in this room understands that you said what you meant and you just got called out on it and now you want to backpedal. Right? It is that, right? And those kinds of so you talk about microaggressions, right? So it is the microaggression that occurs, right? And then you call it out. And then that second microaggression, which actually becomes a macroaggression because it is the gaslighting. It's like, clearly, you're just another angry Black woman. And let me try to show everybody in this room that I am the victim here and that you're just an angry Black woman attacking me because you misunderstood me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oops, I'm sorry, let's check my mic. Um, that's definitely incredibly frustrating. The gaslighting. One thing that I like doing is when they try to say I didn't mean that. I'm like, okay, so what did you mean? Explain that to me. Explain to me what you meant then. And then they can't. I just imagine, you guys know that TikTok meme that's going around right now when they're like dropping truths on people. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Listen, just ignore my obscure reference. But I like putting it back on them because it's like, okay, so if you didn't mean it that way, how did you mean it? Because, I mean, call me what you want, but I like seeing people try to struggle and try to explain what they were trying to say as they attempt to backpedal. I have a hard time calling things microaggressions because sometimes those microaggressions are the worst ones. I'd rather you be overt about it rather than trying to be a little, was it covert? Is that the word?
Yeah.
But even when I was in high school, I got told by one of my supposed white friends that I would not get into my university of choice because they don't let Black people in there. Or I'm pretty sure they said like people like you in there.
Oh.
And I ended up getting accepted early.
Good.
And then they didn't get accepted.
You love to see it.
They didn't get accepted into the college. And then it became, oh, well, you only got let in because they have to let in a certain amount of minorities. It's like, okay. So then I get my master's and then it's like, okay, so what now? Is it still just that? But it's just like, your achievements are consistently downplayed. And it hurts. Another thing with my hair. Yes, my hair is short now. Growing up, my hair was all the way down my back. Like, I used to have really long hair. And I would be consistently asked, is that your real hair?
Oh,
You have
God.
weave-in right now? Is that why is it the assumption that Black people can't have hair? Please stop.
Sorry, I'm only laughing because I didn't expect that sentence, and I'm like, actually, that is a really good point. Where did that come from?
Racism?
Well, yeah.
If you were to be honest, minstrelsy, old films in the 20th century, the history is there. It came out of racism.
Yep. And so it's been like, for me, it's just like that happened to me in elementary school. I'm close to 30 now, and I'm still thinking about the things that were said to me way back when. And it's just like, that's why I hate calling it microaggressions, because I feel like it kind of downplays the effect it has on the people it happens to. For the longest time, I didn't want to cut my hair because I didn't want people trying to say nothing about it. And it may seem little to other people, but it's like, this really, all of those things that are said to you just are constantly playing in your head and are constantly affecting the actions that you take, what you do, how you speak, if you're speaking proper, if you're accommodating or assimilating into a specific sort of culture that isn't even yours, just to make others feel more comfortable. And so, yeah, I have a hard time calling it that, because it's like, it affects us. It affects us. And you try to downplay it, but I still think about it. I don't want to speak for everyone. I still think about those things. Or when people walk up to me and want to pet me like a dog. Because, oh, your hair is so pretty. Can I? Now, if I fight you, it's because you assaulted me first. Because I'm at that point. I will fight you if you reach up to me and try to touch me like I'm a damn animal. Because that's what that ends up making me feel like. You think I'm just something you can walk up and pet. People will walk up to my dog and pet him, which I also don't like. Don't touch my dog. But also don't touch me like I am a dog. But they do that because it's like they dehumanize you in their own mind. That's how it comes off as, is that you're just this thing that they can just do whatever with. And again, they don't understand how much that impacts us.
It's those moments where if you achieve any kind of success, it becomes an exception and not the norm, right? And with that same vein, like, and I hate to say it, but it continues even that, you only got into that school because you're Black. It continues even after that, right? Because I remember when I graduated from grad school and I got the job that I got, the scuttlebutt among the faculty at my degree conferring institution was, she only got that job because she's Black. She'll never get tenure. And then so it became the great joy of I had an extremely supportive dissertation director that when I did get tenure, and that I went back so that he could throw me a party, so that he could throw me a party just to rub it in his colleagues' face, that in his colleagues' faces, that I had indeed gotten tenure, and it wasn't indeed just because I was Black. And the thing is that it never stops, right? No matter how much success you get, they find another way to try to bring you down in that moment, right?
To undermine that success.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about college professors, my professor that I worked with, me and words we just don't mix. When I was getting when I was in grad school, she was telling me about her son, and she was like, well, yeah, he's Latino, and so his parents were sorry if this is triggering, but addicted to drugs. And I just was like, what does him being Latino have anything to do with that? And then I was like, I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with it. She was like, well, you know how they are. I said, well, ma'am, I'm Puerto Rican. Oh, you are? What the fuck? Like, then it's like, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. It was just, no, it's not. It was just anything. It's just like people get so comfortable. Sorry, I'm like filling stuff in my mouth. People get so comfortable and think that they can say whatever they want. And that's another thing is that they don't know what you are. They don't always know that. They don't always know what if you're part of a marginalized group of people, whether it's because of your gender or a specific race or your sexuality, whatever it may be. They don't know. So they feel like they're comfortable and they can say whatever they want to say. And they oftentimes don't realize how much that affects you. Again, it goes back to just having, I mean, I can't say it's a lack of empathy for you because they don't know, but at the same time, it's just like you don't have you lack empathy for others who are part of that group that you're trying to speak negatively about, which is a problem. So yeah.
No, I appreciate you speaking openly and honestly about it, and I will just reiterate: don't worry about trigger warnings or anything like that, because we do have the links. But I realized my face contorted when you're like, oh, they are like that, and it's the othering of people that it like. I feel like I don't get it. I get it. I don't want to have got it. But if I don't want to have gotten it, I'm sure you all feel that 500 times fucking worse. So if I'm done, I can't imagine how others feel. But I can try. But it's just, oh, they. And it's like, it's because you believe I am one of you. And you are being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, it annoys me. But I do understand what you mean. People do get too comfortable when they think they're among like-minded folks, and then they try and backpedal and gaslight, as Sophista said, because
and it's especially worse when it's somebody that you're working with, because then it's like, well, damn, I just checked you real quick and now shit's awkward. But it's also like, I bet you're gonna watch your mouth now. Because it's just like, you know, when I'm in the workplace, I don't normally I don't bring up conversations like that unless it is brought up. Then yeah, I'm gonna comment on it. I mean, whatever. But it's just like, just because you haven't heard me speak on it doesn't mean that I don't speak on it ever, or that I will not. I mean, unfortunately, my family already knows, and I'm always butting head with my family because I'm like, here's what we're not gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna call you out right now. I will, in a heartbeat. But it's just like, you know, now you have to do it at work as well, because you have to get them to understand, like, hey, you don't know me that well because we're at work. You really don't know that much about me like you think you do. So watch what you're saying. And like I said, it can be totally awkward because, again, that's somebody that you're working with. But for me personally, I'm like, would I rather feel regret over not correcting them? Or would I rather feel a little bit awkward and not really have to deal with them that much anymore? I'd rather just not deal with them that much anymore, if that's what it means. And also it'll hopefully help whoever else they may speak to or interact with, and making sure that they're watching their words. Because associating a specific group of people with some wild stereotype is ignorant as hell. I don't think I ever spoke to her again, like on a one-on-one conversation, if it wasn't about like my work or anything, which I was okay with, because I'm like, you yeah. I was very uncomfortable in that situation, but yeah. Sorry.
No need to apologize.
Just kind of things that I'm getting reminded from, like, things other people have been saying. It's that, especially what Valk said about these things stick with you, these things stay with you. I growing up, I had a very particular speech pattern. I still kind of have it. Learned recently it's because of autism mostly. But people got really comfortable with me because I spoke proper. And the things that were said to me, but then followed up by, oh, but like, other Black people, like not you, obviously. And I'm like, no, there's really, like, when it comes to race, there's no difference. Like I'm Black too. Like that doesn't make it better. But then, I'm like a kid growing up. That stuff does not leave you. It stays with you in every social interaction that you have. You wonder when you meet people, how are they going to perceive me? It just causes so much more stress, just in daily interactions with how you're going to be perceived. And then you want to put content creation on top of that. Watch what you say to people.
Yeah, for sure. I was totally gonna say something and I forgot.
Yeah, I had a better path and I just got mad.
I remember the whole "you're not like other" insert group of people here. That is something I received a lot as well, and I'm like, I just never understood what that meant. Like, what is that? What what is in your head that you were comparing me to when they're saying I'm not like other Black people? What
Things from the media.
Yeah,
because representation matters. I will never forget when one of my friends I don't want to name drop, but they posted a picture of Final Fantasy and they were just like, "Oh, this diversity looks amazing," with her fantastic sarcasm. And people tried to go to town with her. So I jumped in and people were like, well, if you base things on the media, then that's a them problem. But I'm like, okay, you may not do it, but it still exists. And eventually people started jumping in my mentions, and I was like, you know what? Here's my bibliography on all the research I've done because I'm doing research on why Black music is in anime to begin with. Unless you read any of my citations or want access to any of these things, I don't want to hear a word from you because this stuff exists. People don't realize things are internalized from what we see and or hear. It can be from media, it can be from family, it can be from a neighbor, it can be anything, a mix of things. Because I didn't realize how even sometimes our own can internalize things. Because I went to an HBCU for undergrad, and I will never forget when one of my mom's coworkers, who was also Black, was just like, "Why is your daughter going there? That school is so ghetto." School is not ghetto. And there were so many people that were upset that I went there because I had applied to 12 different schools. I got into every single one. And they were mad that I chose the school that was predominantly Black or a historical Black college or university. Part of it was because most of my family went to one. That's the culture I grew up around. Like when I grew up watching A Different World and Bill Cosby Show, and I was just like, "What's Howard?" And then my mom took me and my brother because my little brother went to one too, and it was just like, I don't know where people got the idea that if a particular group is in one place together, they're not successful. There's data out there that refutes it. There's research out there that refutes this stuff, and people refuse to go and interact with the research that's already available. Um, Even thinking about things on Twitch where people make slight comments where it's just like, "Oh, well, this happened because they're this," or "This happened because they know X, Y, and Z." Um, it's just our work gets slighted. Uh, People might try to argue and say that you're different when you're really not. Um, I've come across I've actually had someone tell me that I'm not black, and back when I used to use a lot of profanity, I told them about themselves because I also grew up in the South, but I growing up was different because I was taught in home a lot about some things and then got to experience it in the real world. So it's just been like a constant inner battle where it's just like I've been told about this, I know how to handle it, but it still hurts. Or it still brings up a reactionary feeling that I don't know. Even though I've been given the tools to react uh to keep myself safe, it's still, there's still emotional hurt from people that I thought were friends or people that I considered a mentor or someone that I had looked up to at some point. The pain is still the pain still happens. But
I've been told I'm not black too. So I'm like,
yeah, I don't know where they got that. Like
cool,
I'm
cool,
looking
cool,
at myself,
cool.
I'm just like, okay, well, what am I? They're like, where are you? And I'm just like,
You're an
but I'm
Oreo.
black.
Oh.
I'm like, I
Yep.
will never forget when
I had a friend though that would deny that he was black, and he was like, "I'm not black, I'm brown." I was like, I mean, you can identify as what as you like, but your mom is black. But because he was raised in a white household, his mom didn't raise him. That was how he got away from that. And so going back to what you were like saying with like how how it shows up in our own community. People don't understand that white supremacy manifests itself within our community through anti-blackness, through colorism, through things like that. And it's like white supremacy doesn't just mean that it's just white people. It's the effects of it on everyone as well. Um and so that is something that like I'm thankful I didn't deal with that, but I think that it's because like I was raised by my black mother. Like there was no sort of like shame. My mom was not anything like that, but other people do experience that from their black parents and whatnot. And it's because of, media, because of how God, I just keep yanking this out of my ear. Because of the news and because, all of these things telling you that something's not right with us if we're this certain way or if we're that certain way or whatever may be. It manifests itself in so many ways and again creates that lasting effect, that huge impact within our community. And I'm sure it's the same with other communities as well, but don't want to speak on those because I'm not there. I mean, definitely with like Latinos, I can speak on that. There is a lot of colorism, a lot of anti-blackness within that as well. Especially with like not as bad, but definitely with Puerto Ricans and whatnot, just not accepting their like the African aspect of their heritage. Because when you think about it, it's a port. That was what Puerto Rico is. It's a port. So that was where they would bring a lot of slaves here. The slaves and the Taino and natives there would, eventually create children. And so there's a long history of like Black people, African people being there, but it's like it's constantly kind of like not paid attention to as much. People try to deny it. And luckily, again, my dad was not like that. My dad is white passing, but was never one to deny that history. So I'm blessed in the sense that I got it good from both sides. I really am. But everybody isn't like that. Everybody isn't like that. And there's been times where I was told I wasn't Puerto Rican by Puerto Ricans or told I wasn't Black by, and I'm not saying anything to that because, again, but it really affected me with like Puerto Ricans because it's like, why am I not? Oh, because you're black. You realize there's a lot of like black Puerto Ricans, right? Like that's our whole thing. That's our whole history. So yeah, it really does manifest itself a lot, in our communities. And I feel like sometimes it's harder to deal with when it comes from our own people, because I'm just like, yo, how do I respond to this? Like, why do you think like that? Like from white people, I kind of like expect it, but like from black folks, I'm like, what? Like I'm confused. My brain, it's like that meme with all the math stuff going around. Like my brain is not computing what's going on. So yeah. And that's I feel like that's one thing that I personally like I don't know how to combat, because just like, I mean, you combat it by combating white supremacy and hopefully ending that generational trauma that's caused it. So
thank you for sharing, because yeah, gatekeeping and again, I can only speak for what I know, but gatekeeping in marginalized communities, as I understand it, is a massive problem, because it's like, wait, you're meant to be on my side, why are we fighting now? Like, how can we help each other? And yeah, a lot of it is sort of like from internalized sort of trauma and history, at least from what you're saying. I understand it to be a similar experience, or a similar understanding, I should say. And yeah.
I'm sorry, can I say something else? I totally caught myself, and I don't want it to come off this way, when I was saying that, like I've been told I'm not black by other black people. Not once in my life have I used that as a reason to target darker skinned black people, ever. That brings about the colorism thing. Colorism does not affect me as a light skinned black person. It does not. Colorism is something that is affecting darker skinned black people every day, from black people in general. And so like, I wanted to correct myself, because I did not want it to come off that way at all, because I am not the type of person that believes that. I am not affected by colorism any sort of day, because my proximity to whiteness will be grasped at quicker than others. And it's important for us to recognize that as well. I'm sorry, I just had to say that real quick, because I was sitting here like, damn, like I hate how that came off. Like, never in my life have I ever been like, oh, well, they said this about me, so that's why I feel this way. Never in my life. Like, yeah, I was like, damn, that kind of sucks, because like I mean, look at my mom, she's like fully black. What does that make me? But it wasn't anything that I ever used to like ever put down other black people, and it shouldn't be something that is ever used. It's not an excuse. That also comes from the fact that lighter skinned people will be more quickly accepted than darker skinned people. And I will never blame black people for the traumas that we've been through and the traumas that we've dealt with in generations. I will never in my life ever be mad at a black person for feeling that sort of way, because it's like, it's not even your fault. I'm getting emotional about it. I'm sorry, but
no, don't apologize. Don't apologize at all. It's important to say. It's important to recognize. And yeah, it's never been a justification for you. I think we all understand that. Yeah, no. I
also just checking other folks, because
it's not my place to accept or anything like that. It's more I'm just
no.
saying,
I don't think you are. I'm just saying, just having that be recognized. Like, you as a light skinned person may have experienced some things, but don't ever think it's ever going to be as bad as what a dark skinned black person has gone through in their life, ever. Got
me emotional.
I'm sorry. I'm like, my voice is all shaky. Like,
you're okay.
So yeah, sorry about that.
You never have to apologize.
My lashes are gonna fall off.
That's why I never wear them. I'm useless. But I'm afraid we have actually come to the end of our segment, which I hate, because you have all been absolutely incredible to talk to, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity as well, because obviously we did start off with having a BIPOC host for every segment because I wanted to make sure people were represented correctly and had somebody that could actually empathize and have the right experience. Unfortunately, some people weren't able to make it, but you know, it was asked of me to step up, so I've tried. If you do have feedback, I would love to have it. Honestly, I would. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to listen and learn from all of you alongside everyone in the chat as well. It honestly is a great and genuine gift and an honour. And I appreciate you all and everything you have shared.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you for having
opening
us.
up your space to have us speak on these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if anyone has any final words they want to share just based on anything we've said or anything that they didn't say or anything that, you know, you've seen in the chat, anything like that, open floor, feel free.
I haven't even looked at the chat.
That's all
Sophista,
right.
I want your shirt. Link me your shirt, please.
I do love Sophista shirt as well.
It's a great
I love the
shirt.
colours.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you where to get it, right?
Yes.
Hashtag not sponsored. It is from the Target Pride collection.
Target Pride Collection is doing so good this year.
I'm gonna go over here like
just running straight
It's
out
really
after, just
out
shut the
here.
computer.
No, I really do appreciate y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I was really happy I was with Calamity and Pop today because I already love you guys.
I love you too, Val.
I was really comfortable in this space. Like I said before, I'm an outspoken type of person, but I also kind of hold back in certain situations. But being able to have this space and being able to just speak candidly about the real shit in our lives, it's important, not just for us to be able to speak it, but also for others to be able to hear it, for sure.
I guess like last word for me is include people, BIPOC people in your content without them having to come on. Like, not that conversations like this are not important, but more for like companies who want to highlight BIPOC people, sponsor BIPOC people and content creators, have us on without having to talk about our trauma. Because at the end of the day, like, we're here to play games and have fun. You know, we just want to play games and have fun like everybody else. We're just here to enjoy and create and inspire and connect, and be inspired. So don't undermine or ignore where we came from. But at the same time, like, don't be like, look at our person of color. They're right here. We have one, you know.
That token.
Yeah.
Please don't
Tokens.
tokenize
Yes.
Yeah,
And like I said, this is more for companies because conversations like this definitely need to be had. This is extremely important. But more for like companies who want to reach out to content creators. Yeah, have us on without having to be like, so what's it like being Black?
No, I will echo that as well from a white creator standpoint. My white creator friends, if you're going to have people on to play games and they are always just other white people, you aren't seeing the breadth of incredible other people that do not look like you out there, and you haven't looked for them. And I know that because when I worked in the games industry, I didn't know many BIPOC influencers or AAPI influencers or just people that didn't look like me. And when I realized that and I went through my Twitter, this legit happened. I was following 1,000 people and I went through and I was like, there's like 6 Black people here. How did I didn't intend this to happen, but I didn't go and look. And from that day, which was years ago, I have made a concerted effort to be like, no, I need to find other people. And so if you're like me and you haven't, go and do it, because you're doing people a disservice and you're only going to keep showing the same views. And if you only bring your Black friends on when there is trauma, you're just going to traumatize people further. So don't do that. Do not use Black people as, like you said, Calamity, as your shiny doll. Like, look, I care. I've got a badge. Okay, go away now. I'm talking about something else. Like, no, just from my perspective, don't do it. Just, it's not worth it. You can have so many more friends with so much more experience if you actually look outside your own window occasionally. Yeah, sorry. So, Sophista and Pop, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Uh, this is more so for anyone that might be looking to get into content creation as a BIPOC. Don't be afraid to start. There's a spot for everyone. It may not look that way for now, but there are communities uh, that are open. Uh, Granted, there are some rough people you might meet along the way when you're trying to network, but don't let that deter you from anything that you want to do on any platform that you're trying to be a content creator on.
Also be genuine.
Yes.
Always, right?
Yeah,
I
don't
think
just try to be
always.
friends just because you're trying to get your name out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't climb on people.
Sorry.
No, I mean that makes perfect sense, right? Because oftentimes folks will do just that, right? Is try to be friends because they think it's going to get them something. I think that one of the things, and this is to just kind of BIPOC content creators and folks on the platform who are not even necessarily creators, is that we need to build a stronger, bigger, more visible BIPOC community, so that we don't have to, and this is me, this is my 30 seconds of optimism for the day. Maybe these identity tags will help us do that, right? Maybe they will, right? Is that it'll give us an easier way to find one another. um and I think that's important because we can serve as a support system for one another, or just a safe space, right? And I think that's what we really need, especially when not only not only the trolls that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes feels like the platform itself is not being supportive or is being antagonistic. um yeah.
No, I appreciate that as well, and we appreciate your 30 seconds of optimism as well, which is always lovely. Now, I'm afraid we do have to end up here, lovelies, but as I said, it's been a genuine honor and a genuine pleasure to speak with you. And like, some of us haven't known each other all that long, but I'm so proud of like all of you, just for everything I have, because obviously I tune into people's channels and things like that when I'm starting to talk to them, and like everything I've seen has left me with a massive smile on my face, and I'm like, I want to talk to these people, they're cool. Like, come on. And you all said yes, so thank you, and just keep being fucking awesome, and if you need anything of me, you know where I am. But yes, thank you all. And we are going to go back to another BRB screen and get set up for our last segment, which is another 2 hours, being hosted by Shiny Pen, which is going to be fantastic. So, friends, we will see you shortly. Bye!
Bye.